Next up, we have a panel discussion on time to forget the formula. On the panel, we have Isha Nagar, Managing Director, NEPA India, Gautam Talwa, Chief Content Officer, MX Player, Shelja Kejriwal, CCO Special Projects at Z, Zubin Jibitubash, COO Shimarumi and Digital Businesses at Shimaru Entertainment, and Pooja Radhakrishnan, Head of Content Eros Now, will be joining us shortly. Now introducing you to the moderator of the session, Vanita Kohli Khandekar, author and contributing editor at Business Standard. The audience is requested to please stay back after this session as we have an exclusive interview with Disney Plus Hotstar's Head of Content, Gaurav Banerjee. Over to you, ma'am. You're on mute, ma'am.
Hi, everybody. I can't see Pooja.
She'll be joining us shortly.
She'll be joining us. Okay. Hi, Isha. Thanks for the note. That was nice. Shelja, we've spoken. Gautam, we've never met. So, okay. Some years back at a conference in somewhere outside of India, I was speaking to the head of a large OTT, which will remain unknown and unnamed. And I was saying, I'm having great trouble watching your brand on TV. I'm watching your brand, so searching for stuff. So he said that, how are you watching it? So I said, I'm watching it on a TV. And he says, no, you shouldn't watch it on TV. It's optimized for the phone. And that tells you, and this is maybe 3 years back. Okay, so that tells you the distance we've traveled, that we are talking about smart TVs and what they will mean for OTT content. Am I audible? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you are.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
What it will mean for OTT content. So, the fact is the space has moved hugely within the last 3 to 5 years itself. We are talking of something like 14,000 crores in revenues overall. We're talking 102 million paid SWOT subscribers. I'm quoting MPA data, Media Partners Asia data. These are individual subscribers largely on the phone. And I think the smart TV numbers that I think will be reasonably close to the real number is something like 18 to 20 million. I don't know if my panelists will agree with me, but I think many of these things, the fast growth, everything that we are seeing, and the penetration of smart TV, and this is something even 2 years back, I remember Tarun Katyal and a whole lot of other people had pointed out to this and said that this is going to change the way we think of this, the way we think of content on this particular medium. There's lots of questions I have, but first I want each of you to just jump in. Quick take on what, and I'm using the creative filter here, Shelja, don't worry. I don't expect you to come up with business numbers at all. Okay, we are talking about what it, are we going to see OTT become more like TV? Or are we going to see TV become more like OTT? Is it the massification of OTT that is going to happen? I don't know, but I just want each of you to jump in first, and then I'll ask you specifics. So, Isha, you want to take it first?
Yes,
yeah, I'm just going by what's on my screen. So I'm just...
Sure, no worries. Thanks, Vanita, for that context setting. And I think you already gave us so many numbers, so I won't go in numbers. And just, last year at a very similar time around, I was having this panel discussion and the theme was very similar at vdonx. It was family entertainment in living rooms, emerging trends. So it's very similar, but then I think one thing that has constantly remained the same, and we have all the brands on the panel, is that irrespective of the medium in terms of content, whenever we talk about AV entertainment, any type of evolution, any stage, three things don't change. One is the viewership, which is the popular viewing habits, which is generally a result of what's acceptable in that day and age in that society, right? Be it television or be it your individual screens on mobiles, that's not changing. The second thing is the tech, which is the advent of tech around, which is the mediums that the consumer has. So if I have choices, which is a hybrid, I could watch it on television or mobile. I don't think it has so much to do with choosing device first and then choosing content. I think those would be like my initial sort of stand on the topic. And the last piece that always plays a part in terms of choosing a medium is the experience. that you're wanting. Like if I want like a grandeur experience, I will choose like the big screen. If I want a very private, very intimate and a very custom sort of experience, then always I'll be going and reaching out for my handheld. So these three things haven't really changed from like last time around on a similar theme. But two things which we have been observing while working on content with our partners is, one, that definitely it's a habit loop or a habit change that we're talking about. There is a big amount of inertia that is associated with when it comes, you mentioned this term, which is making OTT massy on television. So that's an inertia habit that we're talking about, because the well-established doctrine of what works on television has a formula. So we're trying to break it, and that means that OTT platforms will have to perhaps play an educator, because maybe the cohort that we're talking about doesn't even know what is in it, right? And the second thing at a very overall level that I maybe, as we go ahead, I would love to speak more on is that I don't think a more pertinent question is what works for television versus mobile today. But I think a more pertinent question is what will perhaps become a co-viewing habit in 2024. Because a lot of individual watching habits, and I would love to also see what everyone feels on this, but I think a lot of individual habits of today form co-viewership habits of tomorrow, which is if like what Gen Alpha perhaps is watching on a family viewing tomorrow is a sort of a byproduct and a sum total of millennial parenting and what they have been exposed to. Right?
I read that in your email, but when you say co-viewing, I think a lot of our pointers will possibly come from linear television, but we will get to that. Gautam, you want to tackle it next?
Yeah, sure. Rita, I think it's a very interesting question, right? We are actually trying to get to the customer of one, right? So we are really trying from a tech standpoint and from every other standpoint to say that how do we get to the customer of one, and try and see how and 95% plus is currently on mobile for us, because we're an AVOD platform. Distribution depth is very, very large. But the real point is saying that is, and to be really honest with you, if you look at even our core audience, which is about 18 to 30, right? They're typically cord cutters. They just about cut that cord seriously, right? And they formed a new cord. So we're just trying to make sure that that cord remains for a slightly longer period of time. As far as co-viewing habits are concerned, I'm not so sure. I think it's a little too early as far as we're concerned for sure, right? And as far as content strategy is concerned, how do we look at our audiences and how do we create viewing experiences, etc. Given content and tech as a decent mixture of the both, we're just trying to really figure out right now what they're not getting on other mediums, right? Which is typically saying that right now there's television and cinema, that is the other mediums available for content consumption, and OTT is now the new one. I think what they're not getting there is what we're trying to provide here, largely, to be really honest with you, which is why you'll actually see a slightly over-indexed on a genre called crime and thrillers, and which is typically not the kind of content that is actually available on television. The successful ones that were there ran for more than 20 years, whether it's a CID or a Saavdhan and whatever, right? So I think that that it's very clear that there is a consumer who's wanting to watch something which he's probably not getting. That's one large point on television. The second is that the need state definitely exists. We understand that need state very deeply because we have data to back it up. We understand that very, very seriously. And because that need state exists right now, we're trying to see that how can we actually create content to satiate that particular need state, right? So that's the larger perspective as far as I'm concerned. And going back towards and the big thing is that there is no actually appointment viewing, right? So even if it's a big screen, the screen is just a medium. What we're looking at is that I don't think the necessity to watch together, because that was a habit formed out of television viewing, because there was no other option. Today there are 5 screens at home and everybody has their own screen. So they will kind of manipulate their behavior as far as they are concerned. Maybe we don't need to really start catering to that kind of content just yet, is my take.
Zubin, you want to take it?
Yeah, sure. So according to me, I believe that the entire mobile experience or rather OTT experience has always been on demand. And that will remain whether you're on large screen or small screen or any other screen that we can think of. TV has always been linear. It's like WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. But when it comes to OTT, it's about what I want to see. right? So I want to see my content at my time in the mode that I am in, and whether I'm on mobile in transit or whether I'm on TV and I'm chilling out having a beer at home, I should be able to watch it at any point in time. And I think that is the key differentiator between what OTT offers and what TV offers. Now let's come to the entire experience difference between mobile and connected TVs. Mobile is a lean-in. It's like it's a lean forward experience. You're actually leaning over onto your little your screen, and you're trying to watch something that is intriguing. It's private watching and stuff like that. And it is more within a certain amount of time band that you have. TV, on the other hand, is lean back TV. I have the time to allocate. I know I'm going to watch this particular piece of content. It'll be a movie, it'll be a web series. I know I'm allocating that time investment into that. And that's where the differentiator is coming through as far as TV viewing habits are concerned. We are seeing this through our OTT Shimaru Me. We are seeing a very different kind of viewership that's happening on TV in terms of content, in terms of time spent, and in terms of the genres of content being consumed on television, smart television, versus what's being consumed on, let's say, a mobile or a smaller screen or web for that matter. And this is definitely going to be a significant, in fact, our cohorts are very different. We are also building technology to make sure that every device has a different way of presenting content to that particular audience. That's how we see the entire, the DNA of each profile of audiences. Each of these cohorts is very different. So we'll have to cater to the TV audience separately. We'll have to cater to the mobile audience separately, right from content to timing to programming and everything.
Got it. Though I have lots of questions here, and especially when you know that like more than half of what you watch on OTT is television content. So, where do all these variables come into play? Do these variables even come into play, whether it is device or programming or dark or light comedy or family content? Shelja, don't go away. It's your turn. Okay. Your first take, Shelja.
Sorry. Okay. I looked at this whole smart TV thing, like when we talk about it here at Z's, that currently, like we all know, it's about say 18 to 20 million currently, and slated to go up to say maybe 40 to 45 million by the time households by the time it's 2025. So I just feel as a content person, I just feel that I think it's like adding another cohort rather than, changing too many things really. An addition, right? So what we thought of hitherto as, the audience of one or single viewing and so on and so forth, and those devices and stuff like that. What is exciting for me is, and especially, during COVID times, I mean, the patterns that I've observed, it's very interesting. Like, the other day I was having a conversation with somebody and they said that, pre-COVID, people would travel, do their work, blah, 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 come back home, want some me time, do some stuff traveling while they would watch something by themselves. What COVID has done is shifted the habits a little bit, that in the sense that, your personal device has almost become like a device of work. And when you're at home stuck, blah, and, it becomes like a little bit of a family time. But that doesn't mean that, oh, now everything is going to become like TV viewing, or now everything is going to become like viewing collectively. It's not that. It's just, I just think it's just an addition. It's just one more kind of content, and we have several more to go. I mean, so even when you're seeing, so this is now one part where we are talking about connected TV homes, but then 65% of the audiences also come from, say, rural areas, where connected TV is not going to be there for some time to come. So, it's not only about the NCCSA homes, which we are talking about.
Correct.
Actually, even in the 20 million, it's only 6 to 7 million that are Wi-Fi enabled, so right now, it's a very small thing.
It's still 10% of all TV homes. I mean, we are talking 210 million TV homes. So if multiple of 4 le lo, So you're talking at least about 70, 80 million people watching a smart TV. On that note, I can finally see Pooja Rajyathaksh has joined us. Pooja, your top line comments. Do you think smart TV requires a different type of content? Do you think, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Pooja? Debashish, I don't think she's joined in fully.
We'll just check now.
Yeah. Okay, Shelja, sorry, I interrupted you, but I just wanted to welcome her because, Pooja, are you in?
Yes, I'm in.
Yeah. So,
sorry, I think I was having issues connecting. Hello, hi.
Hi. So your top line remarks on whether you think the rising penetration of smart TVs changes the creative filter through which we look at content or the viewing of on-demand content.
Yes, of course. I think specifically with regard to smart TVs, yes, it will change, the viewing of content for sure. But I think it's just not smart TVs. It would also be a lot of other content offerings and devices which are available, which will be able to sort of change the viewing choices and content offerings. So I think it's just won't be only smart TVs per se.
Okay. Shelja, I want to come back to you here for a minute. When we talk, and this is something I think all of you can pitch in, but first Shelja primarily because she's from the creative side. When we talk of OTT, the immediate picture is, Family Man and Sacred Games and Money Heist. But the fact is that OTT, the largest OTT in this country is YouTube, correct? It's 450 million users. It is largely user-generated content. Maybe half of it, 30% of it is professionally generated content. The biggest OTTs, you have MX Player sitting here, which is the second largest OTT. It is an ad-driven OTT. So it is as more closer, let's say, to linear television. I wouldn't say it is like linear television because linear television also commissions original, by the way. We keep dissing that. The fact is that linear television commissions more programming than OTT probably does in India today, okay? So to my mind, the free OTTs are closer and fighting a closer battle with YouTube and linear TV. YouTube and MX Player are fighting a closer battle with linear TV. So we think of OTT content as, the dark, but the fact is OTT content is all sorts of things. It was just a phase in which I think first 2 years, I think a lot of brands went a little crazy because it was no constraints. So everybody did a slightly, gali galoch jada type of stuff. So everybody thinks OTT content is dark and edgy. That's not true. A Family Man is perfectly nice to watch with your family. There's nothing wrong with it. So is many other shows. Do you think we don't build this into our system and that we only think of originals? We don't think of UGC. We don't think of licensed content. We don't think of 50% of OTT content being TV. So when we talk about creative filter, are we discussing only originals here? I mean, what is that the only thing which drives revenues and advertising and subscription?
Well, I think that's what happened. But actually, it's not necessarily only original content that drives subscribers. I think I'll just go back a little bit. That I think when OTT started, it was like. It was especially the OTTs that were subscriber driven, so then the thing I think became that, who's the person who's going to pay for it, who's available to pay for a subscription. And it started with more male viewership, who were the ones who would pay rather than the women who would pay and so on. So that's how I guess it started. And, also then what happened was it seemed as if, to the programming people, it seemed as if that all that is not available on regular television, because the television was supposed to be controlled by the woman. So फिर man का क्या होगा? What is the man going to watch? So like on television, they say, even though it's not true because there's almost 40% male viewership on television, but it's become that it's more of a female driven medium, and so then it automatically became okay. What will men watch? What will younger males like to watch? And so then it became all that stuff of everything that can't that's not necessarily for the female viewer and so on and so forth. So it became like, crime and thriller and, all of that, etc. But I think as we're going forward, I mean, that was maybe the initial thing. And then, if we have this thing of कि अगर एक चीज successful हो गई, then people want to do more of that, because, all data tells you, data driven content making always tells you this is successful, let's make more of this, and then that's what happens, so I don't believe in data too much. That's the reason why I try to keep my gut alive. But yeah, so I mean, if something becomes successful, then you make more of it. And then at one point you start realizing that again, data tells you, a lot more women have started watching OTT platforms and so on and so forth, and then it changes. But actually, I think a lot of OTT, even the subscription-driven OTTs, I mean, movies are what lead the...
Huge. They're huge. They're huge. You look at the list of top 10 movies, they're popular movies on OTT.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to come back. Isha, just give me a minute, I'll come. But I want to come to Gautam and Zubin here, because they are part of large awards. Gautam, what sort of things do you see on consumption patterns which makes you sure about what the next stage is as you move towards smart TV, and what variables will come into play for you, for MX Player, when you think of content? And is it very algorithm driven, or is it also driven, like Shelja said, by instinct?
I think a story is always driven by instinct. I don't think you can devise a story through data ever, right? It's always going to be a gut call eventually, right? But I think data is going to be directional, to be very honest, right? So a couple of things to just clarify where we're headed to, right? The fact that we've had the learning curve of having a lot of catch-up TV on our platform earlier with Viacom, now with Sony as well. We've got Sun TV down south, which is already so we know what is the catch-up TV formula. We know how many people come, how many people watch, what their habit is. A sense of originals and what they actually bring to the platform is another understanding altogether. And there's
Correct.
We keep talking for hours on that, right? So as far as content is concerned, I don't think that there is what I meant by saying that there is a need state earlier available, and therefore most of us are over-indexed on either crime, thriller. But the fact that we've done a Queen, which was a kind of a huge show, about a politician down south. We've done Ashram, which is not necessarily an 18 to 30 necessary. People universally watched by everybody, right?
It was a huge show, success also, from whatever.
Absolutely, right? So, and the fact that we've done a very specific cohort shows like a Campus Diary, which has seen its own level of success. The point I'm trying to make is that, for most of us content creators, I think the biggest challenge is how universal a show can actually get. And that is actually really tough, right? To make sure that the piece of content actually cuts across all age groups and all age bands, all SECs, which is what a mass Hindi film actually ends up doing, technically, right? It basically cuts across all SEC barriers, all income barriers, all age barriers, and a good piece of content, which is absolutely universal, can actually do that. The problem is that, the data does tell you that this is a very large cohort of people who are 18 to 30, and they need something that they need to be creating, not necessarily. I mean, Campus Diary is a college show; it has nothing to do with crime, right? The point again is saying that the toughest part for most content creators is to get those universal stories and to make them well, and then being appreciated well. So there are three different parts to it, actually, right? Creation itself is a tough act, right? So if you ask me, ideally, we'd all want to create, largely universal shows which actually cut across these barriers, but there are few and far in between that manage to do so. But if you're creating for a certain cohort of users, maybe the 18 to 22 college-going student, there is it's the relatability, it's their stories, it's their aspiration. It's far more, I would say, far easier to do, right, than the rest. So that's where we're ready to actually.
Zubin, you want to take that on? Then I want to get Isha and Pooja in, especially on the film side, and Isha on what the data is showing. Yeah.
Sure, Vanita. So just a small correction. We are a SWOT platform.
Okay.
No worries. So we are an SWOT platform in the regional space right now. So we've started off with Gujarati, and we'll be starting off with a few more languages coming soon.
You have a very successful FTA, so I'm mixing it up with the OTT.
You are.
Yeah. Okay.
No stress on that.
Okay.
So just a pointer. The way we look at AWOD, firstly, we look at OTT as a revenue and a profitable business that we want to build in the future.
Okay.
We're not looking at it as an eyeball driver or a eyeball guzzler of sorts, So the way we see it is that AVOD is basically a funnel, the head of the funnel, the top of the funnel. And you're driving customers through AVOD content onto your platform, saying, come, try, use, and once you like, please take the SVOD subscription as such.
Correct.
So we don't look at AVOD as a revenue model as such. It's basically an acquisition driver to increase the top of the funnel. That's the first part. Having said that, as far as content selection is concerned, we are very particular about, yes, on the contrary, we look at data very strongly to see what is the content mix from our customers. Initially, of course, when you launch, you actually try out different genres. So we've tried out, we have a proposition that says every week you'll get some new piece of content, whether it's a web series, a natak, or a film. That's our proposition on SVOD. So we go ahead and try out at least about different kinds of web series, different kinds of movies, whether it's a comedy, it's youth-based, it's thriller, it's political drama. So we've tried out everything now, and we study data. We study different kinds of cohorts. We study different kinds of KPIs per content piece to see what is the right mix of content that will actually drive SVOD consumption or SVOD subscriptions and therefore consumption. And that's the way we look at the entire piece around coming back to the topic of the day, which is connected TVs. How do we drive that piece to say which customer will be likely to buy a subscription, watch it on TV, versus which customer will likely to come in on mobile and watch it on mobile?
No, so to cut through that and say, what is it that you find that people with smart TVs are more likely to consume or more likely to go to? So you have a big library also.
Yeah, in the Gujarati segment specifically, I can safely tell you that the family viewing experience and comedy are the two ones that really stand out there. We've tried thriller on Gujarati, and thriller has given us, which we thought was directly by gut, we said it's going to be a runaway hit. We found family and comedy giving us far more eyeballs than thriller. So that's the kind of things that come out from.
Very interesting, because that is mimicking what is happening on broadcast television. Pooja, on films, what do you see happening as the shift to smart TV happens? Do you see the choice and consumption of films changing substantially? Because Eros now is heavily about films.
Yes, I think films will really change the way people consume OTT, because with all that's happened in the last 2 years, with the pandemic hitting us, a lot of theatrical releases have come on to straight to digital. So I think in that sense, people watching big film releases on smart TVs definitely is a shift that's happened, and films has kind of made that shift happen in the OTT world for sure. So I think that sort of helps people. I mean, that's got people to view films together as a family. Also, not just theatrical films, but also direct to digital films. And I think the trend has started last year. We saw a lot of films from Heartland India coming straight onto the OTT platforms for tier 2 and tier 3 towns, which have kind of come. And that's purely a family viewing. It's not really a very personalized, individualistic viewing, so to speak. So I think these two things have kind of really made the shift, apart from other genres like gaming and music and all of that, which people will definitely consume on smart TVs, the younger audiences. Films will actually has helped sort of make that change in a big way.
Isha, tell me one thing, and from what everybody is discussing, it seems there are cohorts and cohorts, and what Netflix says, we have clusters of audiences and we have moods we cater to. That's essentially what everybody does. Every brand does in different ways. What do you see when you say co-viewing, or you see, how do you break through and make it? Are we getting stymied by our image of linear and broadcast television being a family viewing? Because you're also talking multiple TV homes, though it's only 2 or 3% of all TV homes, I think, in India right now. But what OTT has done is, because of the phone, we are talking about multiple TV homes in those 450 million people watching are probably part of only 150 million homes, you know.
Yes.
So what's happening there? Could you give us some insights there? Is it different TVs? Is it different devices? And are the consumption patterns, therefore you have to stick to this thing of having different cohorts and different kinds of creatives?
I think that's a very broad question. It has so many things.
Sorry, I know.
But I'll just try to like sum it up, like at least in like 3 points in terms of what we have seen. First is, I think it's a catch-22 situation. Matlab, OTT was created to cater to the demographic which was less represented on linear programming, right? And now we are talking about making it more massy. So the way research works and the way we work with a lot of content partnerships is micro cohorting. Like we never look at a very mass target group when we're working on, say, GDC TV. It is a very mass universal group. And I think the point that Gautam mentioned, that it's very tough to create content which first of all strikes chord with everybody, is conversation worthy across the board and cuts across generations. That's not how OTT any which ways works. So I think it's a matter of one, multiple TV, co-viewing. I mean, in homes, if I want to watch my content individually, there are multiple TV sets that I can like install in the same home, right? So it's not really about watching together. The question that we are trying to answer is that should content factory be geared to serving to co-viewing?
Correct.
That is related only to a cohort jahan pe family entertainment is a need, where entertainment means sitting together with a family.
But that factory is already catering to broadcast. So why can't that be replicated too?
So that's exactly what I'm coming at, is that we don't need to replicate it. OTT is serving a particular purpose, and the choices will ultimately progress. Audiences are getting matured as the society is changing. They are becoming less forgiving on content, and I think storytelling will still be the major focus. I don't think that it's something to like get worried on where smart TV is like taking a share of OTT, or it's going to like ultimately transcend quickly to like smart TVs suddenly. I think it's coexistence. It's like a facilitation, at least from data. We were talking about, the stereotypical thing around originals and OTT being thrillers, right? I mean, it's regional. If we talk about even regional content, that has been facilitated. That is something that audiences love to watch, co-view and like watch on television. So there are genres beyond. There is a lot of infotainment, there's docu-series and education-based content. So, for example, more from linear programming, Shark Tank India, but I think a good inspiration in terms of kind of content, in terms of an OTT space that possibly could become a co-viewing practice. So I think there's no need to fit in. It's something that as society is changing in terms of practices, and both streams will continue to be parallelly coexisting.
Interesting. And I'm getting this thing. We are sorry, this is such a good panel that I'm very not able to do full justice to it. But quickly, let's say 2 to 3 years from now, do you see OTTs more as edgy television, or do you see them as something else? And I want a quick take from each one of you. Pooja, you want to take that first?
It just wouldn't be edgy television. I think OTT is going to be a lot more than that. It's already becoming, so we can see the trends coming. I think all of what happened in the last 1.5 years has actually given us what would have happened in the next, say, 3 to 5 years. So it's all there. There will be a lot of genres which already, the creators have experimented with. There'll be a very immersive experience. I think that's going to be the new age technology, which will play a big part in the kind of genres and storytelling we will do. So yes, it's going to be a wide spectrum. It just wouldn't be edgy shows for sure.
I should have used that word. I think it's become a lead. It's become this thing into, no, sorry.
It won't be, because your audience is evolving a lot. So and the base and the number of audiences available today in the market, I mean, in this country is so huge that I think that's where the numbers are big enough to cater to both kind of mediums, OTT as well as television. Actually,
well said. The audience is huge now. Shailja, your quick take in
I think it's going to be like a multi-cuisine restaurant where you can go and
lovely.
Like I was telling you the other day, that my principle of working is that that we should have more and more people creating content, where I personally create content कि ये चीज मुझे अच्छी लगती है, अगर मुझे अच्छी लगती है तो मेरे जैसे बहुत लोग होंगे. I'm not unique. So I guess it will be a multi-cuisine. It's not possible for one person to create all kinds of content. There's not, there's not a single viewer. There's like, it's amazingly, it's amazing. You can walk in for whatever you want, whenever you want, and, watch it with family, watch it alone, watch it with friends, watch it with whoever, I think that's.
Your point remains that smart TVs adds one more cohort of viewers. Correct.
Yeah.
Zubin, quickly.
I say it's going to be a cohort mela. So you're going to have lots and lots of different kinds of cohorts. It's going to be, so each one liking his own and down to singular. So if you can, I mean, if we end up getting to that, then that'll probably be the thing. There will not be one size fits all. And I agree with Shailaja to that extent.
Super. Gautam?
Yeah, I guess it's absolutely right. And I think that, I think what is important to understand is maybe the tech in the TV would change to actually go the other way around, right? I would genuinely think that the TV would change to become a lot more understanding of what people want at what particular points in time. I think the tech would change there. And I think that, to be honest with you, that we are as mass as market. So I don't think that, I mean, at 280 million monthly actors, we're as mass as mass gets. So as I think, to just say that television is mass, I don't think is true either. I think most of us are as mass can get, and we're only going to get massier. So I don't think that that is true either.
Okay. Last word to you, Isha.
I think very similar. It will continue to be like a different screen for everyone, which is a complete different catalog for you and I. And one thing that I definitely feel is that tech, which is TV, is definitely going to change. I think Gautam already mentioned that. That is something that we will see. And the last piece, because the consumers are becoming so non-forgiving and their asks for like so much of new is increasing. I feel that the decisions will be more like a balance of gut plus, which is what the creator economy feels and what the, a bit of data.
Super. At least lots of thoughts to go with. Thank you so much. And I wish we had more time. Debashish, I will protest formally about the lack of time here. Thank you so much, everybody, for one.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Sorry for being late. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.